All right. Hello. This is Jack Bosch speaking again with the Forever Cash Life Real Estate Podcast. I'm super excited to to have a guest today. Has done 850 real estate flips, mainly in the housing area. You know, I usually talk about land, but also, one of the reasons I brought him on is because he's an expert also, not just in flipping, but in business building. So we're going to talk about flipping, business building, and we're going to get started in just a moment.
Welcome to the Forever Cash Life Real Estate Investing Podcast with your hosts, Jack and Michelle Bosch. Together, let's uncover the secrets to building true wealth through real estate and living a purpose-driven life.
Okay, here we are again. I'm super excited to have our guest here. Her guest is Justin Colby. Justin, are you there?
I am. How are you? Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you having me on to speak to your tribe.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for being here. So obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, you see Justin. If not, you're hearing him here. Justin happens to be in Phoenix, Arizona, just where I am too. We have, I think we discussed earlier, I think we crossed paths a few times, but lately I've been hearing about him a bit more, or a lot more, because he's been really crushing it out there, doing really, really well, doing lots of things. And again, one of the key pieces that he's doing is he's not just flipping, but he's doing it in the form of a business. There's a lot of people out there that are just going out there hustling, trying to get a deal or two done. But you have done 850 deals. Now, just tell us a little bit about yourself, about the 850 deals and what time frame and so on, and what they consist of and so on.
Yeah, so, I've been in the game since 2007. I actually started as a rehabber, which is usually backwards. Most people get into real estate investing as wholesalers because you don't need a lot of capital, very little risk, right? And we found a way to be able to systemize that pretty quickly, right? And so very quickly, we got to a point where we were able to do, in our best year in 2012, we did 96 rehab flips. But from there, we realized we were a one-trick pony, and we realized to be a real business, we can't just rely on one exit strategy, because if you do, then you have no options if the market turns, whatnot. So we started to implement wholesaling. In fact, in 2014, we bought land, which is a lot more into your world, and started developing, actually. So instead of flipping the land, which I know is your expertise, we actually started developing on it and started developing 79 townhomes. That was a challenge, to say the least. So for those of you out there that are thinking, I'm going to be the biggest developer because Jack's teaching me how to get land, watch what you wish for. We really took over kind of wholesaling as a business model that is scalable. So we've done deals in, Dallas, and we're currently in San Antonio as well as here in Phoenix. So it's been a fun ride. I've really focused on building a business, creating and recruiting the right people, building a team, and being able to scale.
Wonderful. Now let's just jump into that. I can't resist on that one. Let's jump into the development deal a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, why was it challenging? What happened?
And I'll keep it lighthearted, but the people that were involved were not the most ethical. Okay. A developer brought me the deal. They knew my success. They obviously had a lot more experience than I, let's just say. And so they presented something that looked prettier than it was, so that they knew I could raise capital, I could fund the deal and all of that. And through that, we found some other little issues with the people that were involved, because he built the team, but based around him not being the most ethical person. Obviously, the people that he brought into our world weren't terribly great either. And so the cost started mounting, profits weren't rolling in, and it just got to a point where, we were throwing good money after a bad situation, not because the deal was bad, but because it was partly falsely represented and then very poorly managed from the contractor side, which is what his role was in the partnership.
Did you end up losing money, or did you end up still?
Oh, we lost about $400,000.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
So there we talk. That's why we like to just flip land, right? And
right.
Like to just flip houses and so on. But it goes to the point that that whatever you do, there's a step. You go up the scale or the ladder of complexity over time, right?
Mm-hmm.
You started rehabbing houses, okay? Got your arms around that. You started scaling that. You started wholesaling, scaling that. And then this is a completely different world where it's, so it's an easy mistake, I think, for a lot of people to make, to say like, well, I figured out this is real estate too, so I can do it.
Yep.
Well, no, it's a completely different animal.
Yeah. And so I would just say everything that you teach is dead on. The only difference between what you're doing and I'm doing is you go for land, I go for the asset, right? And so I would really encourage everyone listening, again, stay with what Jack is teaching, because that whole other side of really buying it, doing the underground development, the infrastructure, and then being able to go vertical. Listen, unless you've been doing this for years or have been a builder that's been working with a company for 20, 30 years, it's just a game you don't want to play, especially on a mass level. If you want to buy an infill lot in a perfect area like Scottsdale and you're going to build a spec home, okay, that's a little different. But if you're going to develop on any type of bigger level, let the professionals do it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's almost like you almost need to apprentice for that for several years before you can get your foot in first. And like it goes along the line. People ask me, like, why don't you invest in Latin America? It's like, well, because my wife is from Latin America and we just know how much corruption there's going on in that area. Sure. So we're keeping our hands out of it, right? Sure. And now people have gotten burnt by not keeping their hand from it, because it's like it's not the same. So great. So I'm sorry for your loss there, but I bet you learned a ton from it, so that's right. That it made you probably substantially better in everything else you do now.
Well, quite frankly, I have a different view on losses, right? And so I don't look at them as losses. I do look at them as learning lessons, is because, for me, I was chasing the money. I was kind of just young gunning. There was an opportunity at the time. We just did 96 rehab flips. We made a lot of money. My shit didn't stink, right? I could do no wrong. And so this was part of that learning lesson, is to, hey, before you go that far out of where your comfort zone is, right? Understand what you're getting into first. Understand, and don't just do it for the money, because quite frankly, we just saw the end payday. And I said, I want that deal. That's how it went down, right? And that's not the right reason to jump into either a different strategy or a business model in any sense, right? Is you got to do it because you have some sort of either expertise, desire, passion, business strategy. So I take a massive lesson from that. And I've only had, 2 major losses, and those lessons that are, and I say that respectfully, some people have had more, and then some people haven't even gotten in the game. The way I look at it is, at least I'm in the game to learn those lessons, right? At least I'm
absolutely there's, and I always learned every time I lost, or I almost lost, or I failed, or I got screwed by somebody or something like that. I was like, look at it, and ultimately it's made me better. It's made me better in terms of what I now know not to do, and it's made me ultimately more money because of the experience that it brought me. So
100%.
$400,000 loss might be a short-term loss, but ultimately the experience has or will make you a multiple of that in future profits, just from the knowledge you've gained from that. I'm 100% sure, because that's how it's always been for me. And then just one last comment to that. There's there's this writer, Elizabeth Gilbert is her name. She wrote this, there's a movie made from her. She teaches writing too. And she tells people, like, whatever you get into, there's always a shit sandwich in the middle.
100%.
And so you see the beginning, you see the end, and basically you got to just make sure that you're willing to eat that sandwich in order to get to the other side. So anything you do is involved with struggles, with work, with things like that. You just got to look at that, and look at that closely, so that you know which one to pick that is most pleasant to eat, let's put it that way, because there's always going to be struggles in the way.
Always. And again, wholesaling, the reason why that model and wholesaling land, flipping land, very similar, very little risk, right? Because you're not coming to the funds. But at the end of the day, if you do want to take some risk and go for a bigger profit or a bigger deal, that's how you make it and you learn from your success. But truthfully speaking, the majority of your learning is when you don't make it, right? And so I say this every day: life is going to continue to punch you in the face. It's just not going to stop, right? Whether it's personal stuff and issues, family members, relatives, it doesn't matter. You're just going to get punched in the face. So it's all about how you handle it, and how you come out on the other side. Your only ability is to focus on how you react to that shit sandwich, which I use that term all the time as well. And that will, distinguish the outcome on the other side.
Wonderful. Yeah. Great. So now let's talk about something. I want to pivot a little bit into the area of business building.
Yep.
And so obviously based on what you told me, you have done deals in not just Phoenix, but also in Dallas and San Antonio.
That's correct.
So the immediate thought when you hear that is doing remote rehabs and remote wholesales requires a different level of organization, of systems, and of business building than just going out there and hustling.
Yeah.
Because getting a deal out there, you can find a partner for a deal here and there, but if you want to do like 50, 100 deals or something in a market that you don't live in, then it requires some level of organization. So tell us about, how do you approach business? How do you look at business? What does business mean to you? And what's kind of your philosophy around growing a business in a remotely from where you are?
Yeah. So for me, it's first about the people, right? Who's involved at all, right? And if there's no one, it's just me, then awesome. Like if I'm just getting something started off the ground. But I'm always going to bet on the jockey, not the horse, if that makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, for example, San Antonio was an incredible opportunity because a good friend of mine and someone who's been investing for years, him and I had a meeting in the mind and said, hey, let's do something together. Well, it doesn't make sense to do it in Phoenix since I'm already in Phoenix. So let's go to a market that we feel like could have some value. Well, so that was great because now I'm working with one of my friends and we have a very synergistic level of where we're looking to go, what we're looking to do. We were in alignment with that. Then you take the people over on that side of the ball, which would be in San Antonio. Who do we need? What do we need? And, what type of systems need to be implemented? Well, anytime you start something, you just got to start from scratch. So you got to say, okay, well, we need to make sure that we can get buyers first because, whether it's cold calling, voicemail drops, direct mail, it doesn't matter. The marketing to get the deals, that we know, right? So the precedence was, let's make sure to build relationships on buyers. Where do we find them? How do we network with them when we're sitting here in Phoenix? So I always start everything with the people, who's involved, what are their strengths, and then let's put some systems to it because everything comes back ultimately to being able to track your numbers and making it math out. If I need to make 10,000 cold calls to get one deal, well, how quickly can I get to that 10,000 phone calls? Who do I need involved? Do I need to hire someone or can I do that myself? Right? So if you just look at the math of business and say, start with the end in mind, I want to get one deal. Well, it's going to take this. So just map it backwards, right? I need to send this much mail, do this many calls, this many voice drops to get there. Then how quickly can I do it? Do I need to hire someone? How do I leverage time? Right? So that's how I really look at it is first people. And secondly, you just got to think with the end in mind with your KPIs. I want one deal that makes me 10 grand. How do I get there? And then you start tracking backwards based around your knowledge, right? Based around, I know roughly it's going to take roughly 10,000 calls to get the deal.
Right. Wonderful. So you say it's interesting that you start with the buyers in mind because common sense in the real estate world right now says that houses are really hard to get, but buyers, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
So why do you start with the buyers in mind and not with the sellers?
Well, specifically when you're opening up a market that I'm not in, because if I go get the seller and then I literally, the work it takes to find the right buyer actually right now is more. And the reason why I say that is simply because if I can go shop for what they'll buy, then finding the deal is less difficult. I'm just shopping for them.
Right. I like that. So you're basically not just finding the buyers, you interview the buyers and ask the buyers, what are you looking for?
Right. And so I'm saying, okay, do you like this asset class, like condo, townhome, single family home? What price point? If I can get that, then I know what list I should call or send direct mail to. Otherwise, I'm spinning my wheels out in some area that I think they would like it, but I don't know for sure. Well, now when I have a conversation with the seller, I know Jack Bosch wants, a home under 200,000 in this area. His highest rehab budget would be 50 grand. I know that now. So now when I'm negotiating with the seller, I might not be able to make 20 grand, but because I know your numbers and I know you'll take it at this, and I might only make 3 grand, 5 grand. Well, at least I got the deal because I knew what you were looking for first.
Wonderful. And by the way, that actually translates to land just as well, because a lot of our students, after having done a few deals, usually they find a specific buyer that is willing to buy as much of a certain product as they can handle.
Right.
So then they go switch gears and they start finding more product like that, more pieces of land like that, and they have the buyer lined up and they make a fortune just doing that. It's
100%. I agree with you 100%. I don't think, and that's why it was so important for you to be on my podcast. So for all you listeners, I just interviewed Jack. He crushes it on the science of flipping. He did an awesome job. And why it was important for me to do that is because my tribe of science of flipping tribe, they need to understand the model doesn't change, right? It's the same model. You're just changing the asset class. Yours is land, which is, there's a zone number for that. Mine would be typically single family homes or condos or townhomes. So, and that's why I wanted to be able to share with you guys is at the end of the day, the model is the same. Land is brilliant because the competition is less. I have 700, you literally live in the same city as me, Scottsdale, right?
Right.
I have freaking 7,000 other investors that I go against every day. You have
there's RIA, the Arizona Real Estate Investors Association, of which I actually going to speak at in March. Cool. They have literally over 2,000 members.
Right.
And that's only one of multiple RIAs and meetups and other things in the city of Phoenix. So I estimate there's probably several thousand, at least a couple, 3,000, 4,000 investors.
That you don't even know.
Probably at least 1,000 of them are full time. That most house flippers fight against. Yet you have figured it out. Now, what makes without disclosing your exact strategy in there, but what makes you successful versus many other people out there not being successful in the house area?
So, and I'm happy, by the way, I'm happy to disclose anything you want. I'm an open book because I genuinely think the reason why I'm successful is I have the fortitude to be. I am nothing special in terms of I'm not like some master salesman or something that hypnotizes sellers. The reality is I don't quit. Most people, when they come up against hurdles, they come up with, for example, our January direct mail here in Phoenix was 0.002. That's total calls in, which is less than 1/4%. That's god awful. Let's just put that out there. But we still got a deal out of it that reimbursed us for the entire month. So we made no money with direct mail, but I have 5 other marketing strategies that I use that are also running and making it profitable. So if someone's out there looking at direct mail and they say, well, I'm out, right? I can't do this. I'm going to keep going because my perspective on this is right when I want to quit, right when I'm like, oh, it's fucking over, I'm done, is where everyone quits. And all I have to do is take one more step. Right? And so I've just been able to, over the years, I've been very flexible with the economy, right? I got into the market in 2007. So right when the world was crashing and craziness was happening. I've seen this last several years, 5, 6, 7 years of complete appreciation, which has been great. And now I'm going to watch it as the residential market at least starts to sink again as it is right now. And I am going to be active in it. And I think that the secret to my success is I'm willing to fail, which most people aren't, right? I'm willing to.
Yeah, very true words.
I'm willing to be patient, right? I think one of my secrets is Tony Robbins' quote that I've been using a lot because I think it's apropos is everyone overestimates what they can do in a year and underestimates what they can do in 10. Right. And so every year we make more money. Doesn't mean it's perfect, right? Some years our overhead's way higher, whatever. But if I can just keep going, right? 10 years, I've been in the game now for 10 years. Not a lot of people can say that. And it's my willingness to be able to keep going regardless of any failures, mishaps, mistakes that I've had.
Right. Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I can't add anything to it other than saying that's exactly what I say too. That's 100%. Great. So now going back to growing your business. So how many team members do you have in your business?
So the answer varies depending upon if you mean in my office, and I have 7. We also have 12 cold callers, and then we also have virtual cold callers who are overseas. And so I count them as my team, but at the end of the day, they're a hireable asset, right? Like they're not sitting here in my office negotiating, talking to sellers, whatnot.
Are they all full-time?
The callers are all part-time.
Part-time. Okay.
All part-time. And the reason being, at the end of the day, is no one can sit there for 8 hours every single day and call. I mean, it's just, you'll lose your mind, right? And so they're a part of my team, but I don't say, oh yeah, well then I have 30 people. Well, I have part-time phone guys, so I just don't. Anyways, I would say 7 are my core team, from my operational manager, my business partner, to 2 acquisition specialists who handle all negotiations, deals. I have 2 follow-up guys in my business that basically we drive so many leads in. I want my acquisition guys to be knocking down the laydowns or low-hanging fruit. And the ones that have to be nurtured and monetized and worked for months, if not longer, they fall into the follow-up category, right? And so I just want the low-hanging fruit to fall and then everything to be in a nurture.
Wonderful. Now, how do you make sure that people know what they're supposed to be doing in their job? Because I'm asking that from a point of view is that we have a lot of students also in our organization that they're just outgrowing that solopreneur status. They're doing very, very well, and they start looking to add some more people. But it's their first time in their life that they are in a managerial position with HR kind of supervision roles, and they don't know what to do. And I went through that 15 years ago with Michelle, because we never had roles in our jobs that we had prior that we were the team leader or supervisor of somebody. So it took me a while to learn how to actually delegate in a proper way. How do you do it such that not everyone comes to you constantly with a bunch of questions, but they actually know how to do that? Because it sounds like your team is, you got a great team, and you got some headspace free to actually work on things and so on.
Yeah. So you have to first be willing to be a leader. And I think one of the things I truly believe is there's more bad leaders than there are bad employees. And that's just because people aren't inherently leaders. Many people think they are, but they're just not. And so to practice on how to become a leader, I mean, John Maxwell is the leadership king, right? I mean, you should read any and all John Maxwell's books about leadership. Stephen Covey is another great one. But to be a good leader really takes extreme focus, right? Because just like a parent, your kids are watching you while your employees or team is watching you. So if you're going to be lazy, if you're going to be the last one, if you're going to not represent what the team should be doing, then it's going to be very hard for that team to find that vision to follow, right? If you represent where the team wants to go and they're taking your lead, it can be a lot easier for them to get on board, understand the vision, believe in the vision, and do whatever it takes to get there. But if you don't give them that lead, and also if you don't give them the vision of what can happen, they're just not going to follow you. And so that's part of it. Now, there's no, I would say this, it's a constant work in progress, right? Sometimes we have more people than we do right now. Sometimes we have less. And it's a fluctuating situation. We lost 3 good acquisition guys over the last year. Not because of anything we did, partly it was personal situations, but it's always a manner of being able to replace the people regardless of why they're leaving.
Right. No, very good. Yeah, I agree with that. We have we pride ourselves. One of our taglines is we pride ourselves that our businesses grow some years 40-50%, and we take 3 months of the year off. And why in the world can we do that? It's exactly what you said. It's that you have to, as a leader, you have to give the vision. Mm-hmm. And then you have to give your people the tools to actually enter, and the levels of authorization and the boundaries also for them to be able to just be able to decide stuff. Not every decision needs to be made by me.
Yeah.
Right? They can make decisions within certain guidelines. And as long as they have the vision crystal clear of where the company's going, even if it's outside of her guidelines, chances are 9 out of 10 cases or 99 out of 100 times they will make the right decision anyway. But if the vision is not there, if it's only there to make a bunch of money or something like that, then they will not know which decision to make, and they'll make it wrong, right? So the vision, you mentioned that, is such a key component, and most people don't spend the time actually figuring out what the vision is.
Well, and I think the last part also with that is making sure that they understand what's in it for them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, everyone in every conversation's thinking, what's in it for me, right? Like, this is great vision, but what's in it for me? So if you don't clearly paint the picture about their situation, what's in it for them, where they can grow, how, whatever that is, you're going to lose them, right? Because when you take 3 months off, you expect your team to step up to the plate. They're only willing to do that if they know, and it doesn't always have to be monetarily, but they know there's something at the end of that.
Yeah, they grow as people. They get to do what they really enjoy anyway. They get to make decisions, and yes, they do get compensated very well for that too. And we have bonuses, and we have all kinds of stuff, and that helps everyone along those well. So depending on how they're motivated, yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
Great. So awesome. So now, if you have, let me just ask perhaps one extra question, and that is when if somebody is like a solopreneur and is doing okay, what do you recommend them? Who do you recommend they hire first?
Let's first say when they should hire. I don't think anyone should hire until they're putting $250,000 in their pocket.
Okay.
I think that's like the very fundamental baseline. You are doing everything until you can put $250,000 in your pocket. Because why else would you be in business? A lot of, people have this dream and ideology of being an entrepreneur. You and I both know how difficult this shit is, right? This is not like puppy dogs and rainbows and we just make a ton of money and it's like nothing. It is so difficult to be an entrepreneur and to lead a team and to make money and to be profitable and, right? And so when people like some of my closest clients that, now are just friends because they've been with me for so long, they're always like, all right, Justin, I'm going now. I want to start hiring. And I'm like, stop. Like, did you put $250,000 in your pocket this year? Well, no, I made 138. Great. You need another 100 to put in your pocket before you hire, because the bandwidth it takes to find them, hire them, train them, they're not as good as you. Then you, by the way, this happens every time, feel like you can take your foot off the gas. Everyone does that. They hire the first person and they feel like, okay, I can take my foot off the gas. And immediately their production goes down. Immediately. And so I'm just a stickler with that. So that's part one. What was the actual question?
And what do you recommend them? Who do I hire first?
I want to hire people that take the minutia off my plate. So for example, I personal assistant, the stuff that I just can't handle during the day that doesn't drive any revenue into my business, I want them to handle. Whether it's, my personal assistant, who is now my marketing manager, who handles all my social media, all my Facebook, my Instagram. She handles all my videos, my postings, my YouTubes. But she also still handles a lot of the day-to-day stuff in our business. So she'll handle a lot of the paperwork, a lot of the onboarding. So she handles the stuff that doesn't actually drive me revenue. So I would say that if you are a solopreneur, I would say if you're doing deals, you need to have a transactional coordinator. The paperwork stuff does not make you money. Go get another deal, then hand it off your transactional coordinator and or personal assistant, because that person can be a transactional coordinator / handle all the other stuff, right? Whether it's posting job ads, you name it, right? So I think that's the first play, because you need to free up your time so you can go make money.
Very good. All right. Wonderful. Well, Justin, we want to thank you very much for the call. I really enjoyed that. We didn't really talk that much real estate, but we talked business. And business is business. Whether you're in real estate or you're selling lemonade on the side of the street, or you have a $100 million company, at the end of the day, business owners face the same challenges out there.
Yep.
So thank you very much for your time. Now, where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, so the easiest way, I do have a podcast called The Science of Flipping. So I'd love for you guys to listen to the podcast, give it a review. But you also can just go to the website, thescienceofflipping.com. I'm giving away the same book I sell on Amazon for your tribe. You can just go in there and just download it, because it's great. It's exactly how I got started, the systems I implemented. So scienceflipping.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. Have a great time. And for everyone, if you enjoy this podcast, make sure you share it with other people. You share it on from YouTube. Get the link. Share it on Facebook. You share it around. If you're watching us, if you're listening to it on iTunes, particularly go on iTunes. Leave me a 5-star review. Don't just click the 5-star button. That's cool, but actually write a little blurb about how you like it, because that helps us reach more. You expand our reach of the podcast and spread the word about this amazing investment class of real estate, right? Everyone is out there following what I call the pile of money theory, investing in their 401ks and this stuff like that, hoping to outlive it when they're older, when there's this world of entrepreneurship and of big checks available to everyone, they just take action. So with that, thank you very much, Justin. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Enjoyed this episode? Then make sure you like, subscribe, and post your comments and questions below the video. We're looking forward to hearing from you.